I love this book. I love everything about it. I really do. I'm very excited for you, Luvvie. I particularly love page 150, where she says, I'm part of a group of 250 influential women in business, technology, and media. It's called The List.
And it's got a shout out.
I just wanted to put it right up there up front that, we're in the book, which is pretty amazing. We're going to do a quick Q&A. I want to have some questions for you. I want to explore fear and trouble and stepping into your power. And then we will open it up for everybody to ask questions, because this is what we do with The List. In the meantime, should anybody have notes they want to share with me or Luvvie or with each other, please use the chat. As I said, Anna's going to share links to buy and social media. And it is our goal to launch this book into the world in the way that it deserves to stand in its power. So there we are today. Yes. So have you done any press up until now?
I have. I started my podcast tour actually probably end of January. I think I have recorded probably about 40 podcasts by now. And they will basically, the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be on everybody's podcast.
Good. I heard you on the Irish Times podcast. I listened
to that.
It was good. You gave those Irish ladies what they needed to hear. You were
Listen,
good.
I was like, wait, the Europeans about to get the full Luvvie energy.
Did your last book launch internationally at the launch? No.
Nope. So my last book was a completely different experience from this book, because book one was not supposed to be a big book. That book was not supposed to be something that took off or made any real splash. And I think it surprised my publishers, because before book one even came out, it had already gone to second print. Like the week before, Amazon already had requested a new print. But just like, because 6 years ago is when I got my first book deal. Back then, being a Black woman who wants to write a book, who was not a novelist and who was not a celebrity, was not something that was a thing. So I was, in my book proposal, I remember writing, like putting different comparative titles that were of like other Black women who have written books, and I couldn't put them in there. Like my book agent deleted them, because he was like, those didn't do well, so you shouldn't put them in there. So when my proposal was going out, Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl had just dropped in the world. So I actually couldn't even include that. There's how few books like mine that were out at that time. So now to see this book, the reception of this book is literally like light years away from what was expected of book one. Because I think about how book one was, it was cute. It was for them, they were like, oh, this is cute. This is a nice paperback. Well, we'll just throw this cute royalty at you real quick. And I knew because of that, I had to prove a point. I was like, I need this book to do well so publishing can take Black women more seriously. So I really called in all the favors, was like, first step, write a really good book. Second step, ask your friends to help you make this book a success. Third step, do everything you can to make this book a success, because it's bigger than you. And that's what I ultimately did. So there was no international launch. There was no, I have a UK version of this book that's coming out also on Tuesday. That's called The Fear Fighter Manual, Lessons from a Professional Troublemaker, because they switched it out. I'm doing British press, as many podcasts in the UK as I am here. Completely different experience. This book was bidded on, it was in an auction with 12 publishers. And then I got to pick my publisher of choice. And they wrote me a love letter to be like, this is why we want you. When I tell you night and day experience, but it's because of the success of book one. I earned my royalty for book one after 3 months, because it wasn't actually supposed to be such a big book. And, and it's still selling, and people still tag me to it on social media. But I'm blown away by the difference. I'm blown away by the glow up, by the evolution of me as a writer, the fact that I'm taken way more seriously now, the fact that this book commanded an auction, the fact that, out the gate, I have a massive team supporting me with it. And I remember book one, it was basically me and one other person, and the publicist that I spent half my book advance on, so I'm just in gratitude about it. I'm in deep gratitude about it. And I'm just like, all right, Book one did what it's supposed to do. Book two, I hope shows that it is not a fluke, that I can do this again, and I can write a good book again, and I can market it well again, and that people will find value in it again.
So I have crazy loud drilling. I'm going to ask my question super fast and then mute again. I love how you, can everybody hear me? I love how you, I'm getting in really fast. I love how you, oh, my husband's asking them to be quiet. That's so nice of him.
Oh.
Okay, I love how you felt a responsibility with your book to represent for other Black authors. I think that that is so important, and I want to hear about how you said something about the rooms you could step into, right? The power that that book allowed you and afforded you. So like now that you're on the precipice of another New York Times bestselling book, because let's just say it and have it happen. Talk about the rooms that you step into and how has that changed? Like, what are you bringing with you? Like, how does Luvvie step into a room now?
Yeah, I think I step into a room with more currency. My name commands more attention, more money. And I think it shows the power of like shifting privilege. You know, I am to be a New York Times bestselling author now means even if you don't know what I do, you pay a little bit more attention. And how I step into the rooms, especially now, is that, okay, now that I do have more access and privilege, how do I use it in service of other people who are not in the room? How do I make sure that I'm not the only in the room, the only woman, the only Black woman, the only immigrant, you know? And so I'm always trying to figure out how to wield my power for the good of somebody else. Because I didn't get power just to hoard it. You know, I got it because I want to pass it around. You know, power is infinite. And I'm like, if I have power, I'm gonna make sure other people do too. So that's my goal whenever I'm in any room, whenever I have any opportunities. How I even approach my career is with the idea that my path needs to make somebody else's easier. And it has, and that has been one of the most affirming things. When we were going out with book two, a few editors actually would, like, after we did our interview and they interviewed me and they asked questions and like, we love this book, you know, tell us more. They would pause and say like, your book has changed publishing a little bit, actually a lot bit. And I'd be like, oh, how? And they're like, your book is in every proposal that comes across our desk now. Like, your book has gotten people 7-figure advances. And I'm like, I wish my first figure, God damn it. But it's okay. Like, right? They really tell me and express to me how much I'm judging you has been such a mainstay in publishing and how it's been used as an example of somebody else's book being successful. So I've been blown away so many times when I've heard that, and it affirms to me that I got to keep doing this thing, and that my intention of passing on my power is working. You're on mute, Anne. There you go.
Love that. You know that my whole thing is new power, and that idea that you are paving the way, you are the pioneer, that the transparency that you bring to your life and collaboration is really like, you are the new dynamic of power. So I appreciate that so much in the world. And because this is The List, and because The List is in the book talking about that story where somebody tried to not pay you, I remember that so vividly. I remember that like playing out step by step, like watching that happen. Does that happen anymore? Do people still like try to pay you less than you know you're worth?
Oh, absolutely. They still try. They still try. I think people will always try, but I think that's where I have to honor my own boundaries. But I'm telling you, that's why I had to put The List in here. And I when I finished the chapter, I actually sent the chapter to Rachel, because I was like, heads up, The List is gonna be my new book, because that moment was such a moment of women loaning each other power and currency and leverage. It really captured the true power of The List. I'll even tell you how I got into The List. It was, I think, May 2016. My book hadn't come out yet. And I get a DM from Rachel. that's like, hey, your name has come up in the list like 3 times today. I'd known Rachel before. I don't know if I knew of the list, but she's like, your name has come up. And somebody else then DM me was like, your name is popping up in the list today. And Rachel was like, come on in. And that's when I joined. And it was Shonda Rhimes that was like speaking my name up in the list. And so I joined this group and I just watched for a bit, and I saw women doing exactly the thing that I wish we did more, which was being vulnerable, talking numbers, sharing actual resources. And I was like, this is amazing. So when the thing happened that I wrote in the book, it was around, that was probably like a year later. I think it was like May 2017. And I asked if anybody had been asked to speak at the Next Web conference. And I remember coming in there being like, you know what? Let me ask the people of the list, because this sounds weird. Because they had emailed me and being like, oh, we'd love for you to come speak. And when they were sent my feeds, they were like, oh no, Luvvie would have access to this really big stage and we don't really pay speakers. And I was like, I don't know what it was. Something in my spirit was like, this doesn't sound right. So, and I typically wouldn't ask the list that, just because I'll usually just decline. But I was like, let me ask the women of the list, because they've probably been asked to speak at this conference. And I remember coming in there and just being like, question, have y'all been asked to speak at the Next Web? Is it true that they don't pay anybody? And I'm telling you, the way the list women squatted up in like 10 minutes, like I was getting all these responses, people being like, my husband spoke there last year. They definitely paid for his travel and they bought his books. And then somebody else came in there was like, they definitely paid my travel. And I was just like, noted. And I saw like a Black woman come in being like, yeah, they asked me to speak and they definitely want me to pay. And I was like, word, so that's how they're gonna do it. But that information gathering process was such a gift, because it gave me proof that what I knew was not right was not right. And I remember when I asked my speaking agent at that point, I was like, do you think I should speak about this on Twitter? And he was like, no. He was like, no, I don't know. I think it might be, what if they think, you do this as a form of habit? But he was like, you know what though? I already know you're going to do whatever you're going to do. So I'll support whatever, because they know me anyway. I just asked as the sake of me being polite. I was going to do it anyway. But I remember in that moment, I was actually afraid, because I'm like, shoot, okay, if I do speak up about this, like, what if I do lose money? But I just thought through how much power the women of the list had loaned me in that moment. Like the knowledge was power in itself for me to walk with and be able to definitively say this thing. And it was amazing, because it started this multi-hour conversation from women talking about the moments when they haven't been paid in tech. When this conference specifically, right? Because I didn't even say the name of the conference on Twitter, mind you. I didn't even mention what conference it was. I was like, I was asked to speak at a conference in Europe. And then Christina Wallace, was like,
Christina's coming in another, she said she'd be here after 1. So I'll let her know that we spoke her name.
We spoke, Christina's in there too. Christina was like, do you want to go on the record? And I said, well, yeah, okay, sure. And I know at that point my speaking agent was like, Lord have mercy, but they can't stop the train.
So have you heard from Boris again?
No. And that's the part that was hilarious, is when Christina went live with the Forbes piece. It was like a month later. So it wasn't like an instant thing. And Boris read it and then replied to me and Christina to send this crazy dog whistle email that I was like, I'm so glad he did that. Because that doubled down, added that exclamation point that I was not being crazy. And his foolishness actually helped the piece spread. And I know some speakers pulled out of speaking at Next Web, and he got on Twitter and was being raggedy. But it was amazing, because I was just like, thank you for proving my point. And then also thank you to the list for showing what it looks like when we really give each other, like when we consider community a verb, right? When we actually put action to who we surround ourselves with. And man, that experience was dope. So I definitely had to write about it, because it was so relevant to how we can move. And people are shocked whenever I'm like, yeah, let's call me. I'll speak numbers. We can be open about it. And they're always like, this never happens. And I'm like, I've seen it happen. It happens every day in the list. And it happens in ways that just blows my mind all the time. So shout out to y'all.
Thank you, Luvvie, for I love that community is a verb. Thank you for being a part of this community. I mean, you drove that conversation in such a big way. I want to ask you about fear, because so the book is about fear fighting, right? And you even as you're describing that idea of, I'm going to out this guy on Twitter. He has more power and more money than I do in this situation. Am I afraid of not getting booked again? Am I afraid of pissing off my agent? Am I afraid? Whatever we are afraid of, there's a lot. And yes, power is the antidote to, information is the antidote to that fear. But I want to talk about, like, you pinned your whole book on fighting fear. So I want to talk about, like, what do you say to yourself in that moment where I know I'm going to piss all these people off? How do I navigate that?
You know, I run my checklist, right? Like I create my framework of questions that I'm going to ask myself in the moments when I want to say something that feels tough, which is, do I mean it? Can I defend it? Can I say it thoughtfully? I do that first, right? Because if it doesn't pass that test, I won't say it. I'll just let it go. I'll let it go. But I think I typically will be like, yeah, it might not be a popular opinion, but the reason why I run the checklist is because I know that the things that I'm going to say, I can't decide on whether I'm going to say it based on whether and how it's going to land. Like, I can't use what I think people are going to take from it as a reason that I say it or I don't say it, because humans are fickle. On any given day, depending on people's random moods, they'll say the sky is blue and they'll be mad about it, right? So people are too fickle for us to base our whims on. Like, they're too fickle for us to base our actual lives and the decisions we make on. So I'm always like, the person I need to be right with is me. And one of the questions that I started asking myself is, will I be proud of my silence? Like, will I actually be proud of if I'm actually quiet in this moment? If I walk away from the table and somebody says, what happened? And I tell them and they say, what did you say? If I say nothing, will I be proud of that answer? So I ultimately risk whatever it is the impact is, knowing that I did the part that I was supposed to do, knowing that I did the thing that I would be more proud of, the thing that I can defend. So yeah, I just kind of say it and walk away. And sometimes I'll publish something and run away and not look at the internet for 3 hours, just in case it did become a dumpster fire. And if it does, I deal with however it falls, because hey, humans get mad. And I think, again, there are times when it has not gone well for me, where I've trended on Twitter, which I wrote about in the book. And in those times, it is tempting to be like, I should have been quiet. I shouldn't have said anything. But then I go back to, but how am I supposed to be using my power and my voice and how I'm working through this life? And I think I basically learn whatever lesson in the moments when I fall flat on my face. I figure out what the point of me falling flat on my face was. What was I supposed to learn? What was I supposed to be preparing for that I wasn't prepped for before? And then I move different or move better. So, yeah.
Is there any time that, like, the shit has really hit the fan where you've been like, oh, yes?
Yes. When I trended on Twitter, my freaking name was number 9 on Twitter, Luvvie. I was like, holy shit. This was 2.5 years ago. There's a whole chapter in this book called Failed Loudly about this incident, about what it meant, how it happened, and what I learned from it. It was a shock to my system, knocked me off my square for like a year, but it was major. I went to therapy. Yes, I barely wrote for a year after it happened. So, like, didn't write blog posts really. Was kind of just doing. I was speaking still. I was like, yeah, I definitely didn't write much for a year, and I dig into it in that chapter. And that chapter was important for me to write because being a professional troublemaker and telling people to fight their fear is not saying that rah rah all is well, people will love it, yay. Sometimes you will fail. Sometimes you will fall on your face. Sometimes it will not go well for you. Sometimes you might trend on Twitter, okay? And for me, one of the biggest lessons that incident taught me, that I realized I needed to learn in the way that I learned it, is that I was still seeing myself as just Luvvie. Like I was seeing myself as Luvvie, the girl from Chicago, the Nigerian girl, the immigrant, the girl who just writes. She loves to write, who happens to have people who follow her. I wasn't seeing myself as Luvvie, like in the way people see me. I still walk in a room, even though I know I have more power, I still walk with the humility of like, I'm just a regular person who happens to get visible because of my work and people just liking what I did. I hadn't thought about myself as like an entity. Okay. Like I became Goliath. I wasn't David. I was seeing myself as David, but I was Goliath. And I needed that moment to remind, you're Goliath. See it. But how was I going to see it if I wasn't trending on Twitter to be like, oh shit. I guess I do have a bigger platform. I guess I am commanding more attention. I guess I do have to wield this more responsibly. It was one of those like the universe grabbing my face, because if that incident didn't happen, could I prep myself for even this moment, right? I trained at number 9. I wasn't number 1, right? Hopefully I'm never number 1. And if I am number 1, it's for a good thing, okay? So it was a moment of learning that levels have changed. The levels that I operate in have changed, even though I didn't think I had changed or that they had changed. So
but
that
I'm sorry. Does that make you want to cause less trouble? Does it make you feel quieter? Does it make you feel like you need to think 3 times before you speak? Does it change how you react?
It has changed a little bit of how I react, in that now I can't react to everybody, because when I'm David, I can. When I'm Goliath, I'm a bully. Where nothing changed from day to day, but when that happened, I crossed over to a new level where I'm like, oh, okay, I do wield more power than I thought, and people see me different, even if I don't see myself different. So even that fire of it all, I poured gas on it when I replied to the person who came at me crazy, the person who said something wildly disrespectful to me. Me reacting and just even responding poured fire on the situation, because here I am trying to defend myself, and it's basically like Goliath roaring. And I'm over here like, wait, but I'm David. They're like, no, you're Goliath. You are the one who is to be defended against, not to who can defend herself. So it did kind of it gave me the realization that like I am an entity outside of myself. And it doesn't, that's why I stopped talking for like a year. It wasn't like I almost didn't know how to move. It like humbled me in a way that was like, okay, yeah, how should I use my voice? It did scare me from what my purpose was, and it did kind of like push me back a bit. And I write about how when Toni Morrison died is what got me writing again. Literally, it happened like Toni Morrison died like a year almost to the date of this whole situation happening. And it convicted me in such a big way. Like her words of like, in times of crisis, artists go to work, they write, they heal civilizations. I had stopped my work because of all that madness that had happened. And I was like, well, shit, okay. I'm not supposed to stop my work because of this one wild incident. I'm not supposed to stop the thing that I know I'm purposed to do because of that incident. I'm not supposed to stop using my voice and my power because of that thing. I need to learn what I need to learn from it and then move from that. And that's really kind of what got me back starting. And it was a couple of months later, that was 2019. Yeah, and I think I turned in oh my God, I actually didn't realize until this moment. Shit. Toni Morrison died first week in August of 2019. I had procrastinated on getting my book proposal to my agent. I got my book proposal to her 2 weeks after Toni Morrison died. My book sold a month later. Holy shit. Hadn't realized that until this moment. Whoa, okay. Yeah. Wow.
But so you wrote this book, you wrote this whole book during the pandemic. You wrote this book at home.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. I definitely, that's crazy. I'm like,
well, that makes sense why we haven't seen much of you in the last year. You've been locked away writing this book. I
was on my couch writing this book. The world shut down in March. My book was due May 1st.
Will you talk? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so while everybody was like, yeah, we can be unproductive, I was like, I don't even have the luxury to be bored or just sit on my couch and do nothing.
Well, you had to stay home. You had to sit in your house and work.
Right, but I didn't have the luxury of just like binge watching TV, right? Like some people were like, oh my God, I spent the first 3 months of quarantine just binge watching every TV show ever created. And I'm like, I was on my couch trying to write my manuscript, but I did it.
But wait, just for the list, because we love these details. You wrote this book in 3 months?
So before March, I only had about 15,000 words, and I ended up turning in 83,000. So I admitted to my editor last week, actually. Yes, it was last week that I admitted to her. I wrote half of my book in April. 44,000 words came out of me in April. I had procrastinated up to that point. I had self-sabotaged, which is what we do sometimes when we realize we're about to do something big. And I was like, oh my God, I might not make this deadline. I was actually prepared to tell her, can I turn this in June? Because, pandemic and stressed out. And I had to write a book about fear fighting in the middle of a wildly scary time of the world. It was like, again, God be challenging me sometimes, like, be who you say you are. But yeah, after I sat on the couch for a few weeks and procrastinated, then I felt convicted because I was like, this is the book that I wish I had now to read during the pandemic. This is the book that I need to have to give to a friend who's scared right now. People who are scared of what's coming next, if their company's gonna flow. If the people that they're living with, who they realize they don't like, I'm like, all of that. I was like, this is the book that I need to be able to give to them. So I felt convicted to write it. Just like,
well, you're newly-ish married, right?
Right. On top of all of that, I was like, oh my God. Then I had the world shut down. I was only 6 months into my marriage. Then it was just so many things. All right. So many things happening at once. And I'm just like, and now I have to be a functional human being and write a whole book. And I did it because I'm a workaholic who is often driven to do her best work when she's feeling convicted, and which is what I did. And this book poured out of me. Like, I would literally be writing for 3 hours and have written 5,000 words. And I'm like, wow, okay. But yeah, I actually made my deadline. I turned it in. They had no clue that I wrote half of it the 4 weeks before it was due. And over 3 months, over 1 month, we did 4 rounds of edits. Like, me and my editor were like firing stuff back to each other. And I sent her my book, full manuscript of 83,000 words. She sends me back the full edits 2 weeks later. I get it back to her 4 days later. She sends it back like 5 days after that. It was like rapid fire book. And the book was so clear off jump. Like, my edits, I'm actually thankful that my draft ones are not horrific. Like, my edits are typically to really make it stronger. She's not like, scrap a chapter. Let's scrap this section. It was real things that I was like, let's just get it right back. And the book felt like magic.
Let's hear about this magic editor. What's her name?
Meg Leader at Penguin Random House.
Okay.
She was the editor who I chose. So let's go back to the proposal section. So my proposal was 50 pages, both proposals, book 1, book 2. I write really good proposals because they're very clear. And my proposals end up being a gift because the reason why I can write a book in 5 months, I wrote book 1 in 5 months, and I wrote book 2 really in like 4, is because my proposal is very clear. I write the proposal when I am clear about what I want to say. And every book that I write has a thesis statement. That's how I start my proposals, with a thesis statement. What is the thing that I want this book to say? But book 1, I'm judging you, was, we are all a mess and we've got to be less terrible at being human. So we have to do better. This thesis is for us to do better. It's like a big sister to book 1. For us to do better in this world, we're going to have to do the things that scare us. We're going to have to be professional troublemakers for the greater good. Here's how. So once I did that, wrote this proposal with the marketing in there, with my bio, with the comparative titles, we My proposal was finalized August 2019, end of August. That is Martha's Vineyard time for publishing. All the editors are in Martha's Vineyard, living their best lives. And my agent, Kristen Keene Benton of ICM, was like, we'll just start sending it out. We might not hear from them until September. That's fine. Every editor she sent it out to interrupted their vacation and was like, let's set up a meeting. Meg was definitely at Martha's Vineyard, came back into New York to be at this meeting because they had set up a meeting of like every department at Penguin Random House. And after every editor's meeting that I did, I wrote notes and I ranked each editor. So like I would put an editor below another one if I was like, I didn't like them as much as the last one. When I had my meeting with Meg, I moved her to the top. And I was like, I really love the energy she came with. I love the fact that the whole department was in the building. She felt like, I feel like she understood what I wanted to write. So when the book went to auction, it was 4 rounds. And at the end of round 4, we end up with 3 publishers who all came around the same pricing. And then I had to basically decide, pick your poison, who you want to go with. And Meg wrote me a 4-page letter about why she wanted my book. I still have it. She wrote me this beautiful letter about how she would even approach marketing, why she was so attracted to my voice, what about this title would make Penguin Random House better. And I read her letter. I read the other 2 letters, which are also great. And I looked on my list, on my notes, and I was like, Meg is number 1. She stayed number 1 for me. So let's go with Meg. And the moment fun fact, the auction ended and I made my decision on September 13th, 2019, which was the 3rd anniversary of my first book coming out. That was not on purpose. I was like, oh shit, that's pretty cool. And then Meg called me to be like, I am at a Starbucks yelling right now because I'm so excited that you said yes. I get an email in Facebook from somebody random who just follows me or is one of my Facebook friends who says, just so you know, I'm at a restaurant and I'm sitting at a next table and your name came up. I heard Luvvie. And whoever these people are really excited that they got your book. Like out of the blue, somebody who happened to know me was sitting there whenever they were like, whoever this is really excited that they are the ones that are going to be working on your book.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I was like, mind you, there's no announcements have been made. We just said yes. So I was like, oh shit, that's amazing. And then, yeah, like it's been an amazing experience since they really championed it.
I love the inside peek to the publishing industry at your level. Like, I think that I love the red carpet being rolled out for you. I love the 4 rounds of auctions. I love that I frankly think that August is a really good litmus test. Who's going to get their butt off the beach and out of the ice cream stand to like come these manuscripts? And that means that they came to the table. They're not messing around.
They were not messing around.
I want to give everybody a chance to ask questions, and then we're gonna Anna, now would be a good time to post pictures, and people can start to send out a little post because we are gonna have marching orders at the end of this. But before we ask questions, I do have one thing I want to ask you because I thought it was really fun, and I want to hear about the Oriki.
Yeah.
That's all to write an Oriki. Can we, like, yes. I want the list to come and get hyped up with the Luvvie power. So will you, everybody just got their book, so they don't know what I'm talking about. Will you explain what an Oriki is, how to do it, yes. why to do it?
Oh, and before I do explain what the Oriki is, I forgot this part. Meg is now editorial director of Penguin and Viking Books because of my book. She asked for a raise because of the chapter in my book. And not only did she get the raise, she became promoted, and now she's running a whole team of editors and acquiring even more books. And she acquired my bestie's book, Bozoma St. John. So she's also going to be editing my really good friend. So yeah, epic.
Luvvie, that is your power. I mean, that is you walking in your power and giving your power to other women. I love that. I love that.
That for me is. When she told me, she told me in December. I was one of the first people she told because she just got the promotion. It wasn't announced yet. My whole team's mouth dropped because we were all on our call, and she just casually was like, "Oh, by the way, before we finish our call, just have some good news." And her and I actually just did an IG live last week where I was like, "Let's dig into this publishing process. Let's dig into why you thought the book was good. what it did. So it's actually on my IGTV if anybody wants to watch it. But Meg is amazing as an editor. If you end up getting her for any of your books, she'll do you right. Yes, go after her.
Have her at the list. Get her on the list. She needs to be on the list.
Okay. Again, she's so cool. Meg is the shit. She is the shit. She has carried this book like anything Meg wants. Like anything we've wanted, Meg has been like, all right, let's make it happen. She's just been incredible. And I
are the shit. I like women that are the shit, and they need to be on the list. Done.
Let's do it. Okay, I'll let her know. So, hey, Christina, I invoked your name a few minutes ago. So the Oriki. So chapter 1 of this book is called Know Thyself, Know Yourself, because I wanted us to start with like understanding that we are all tied to something greater than ourselves. We're tied to ourselves. Who we are is important, but whose we are is also important. And being a Yoruba girl, Orikis are tradition for us. And Oriki is like a hype mantra that connects you with your ancestry. It reminds you of whose you are. It tells you why you're dope. And my grandmother's at the middle of this book. And it was so important for me to talk about that because Oriki is one I've heard all my life. And when you hear it, it's like, it gasses you up. And I remember one of the last times I heard it was at her funeral. And if you were dry-eyed before, at any celebration where you have an Oriki, you gonna start crying at that point because the way they sing it, right? It's like poetry, but it's literally speaking to your spirit. So I was like, I actually had my aunt read my grandmother's Oriki for my audiobook because I wanted I was like, I won't give it the full traditional energy that it requires. So I need somebody to do it. So I recorded my aunt and had her record it and send it to me. And it's in the audiobook. But it is this way to champion yourself and champion your lineage. So I borrowed from Game of Thrones about an Oriki because the traditional Oriki, like Yoruba style. So like my grandmother's Oriki is like, oh Lord, it comes with all types of tone. But what it does is basically tells people why you are untouchable, right? Like why you're the shit. And one of the lines from hers is, the child who brings out soap to wash his or her own clothes while someone else's child brings out ashes to wash hers. So it's also shady, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, think about how in hip hop tradition, they're like, this is why I'm the best. So an Oriki is that. So I borrow from Game of Thrones because I actually had been doing it for years. And I was like, oh, I've been writing people Orikis. Whenever people do magazine covers, I'll drop it on Instagram and I'll be like, breaker of chains, in the way Khaleesi was, which I'm still upset about Game of Thrones. I ain't gonna talk about that too much. That last season really pisses me off. God, like they had one job, okay, and failed. But so the Game of Thrones style Oriki that I've written for somebody, so like Beyonce, she's like Beyonce Giselle of House Carter, first of her name, snatcher of edges, killer of stages, citizen of Creole Wonderland, legendary Black girl, Wakandan Council president. Okay. For Toni Morrison, when she died, I wrote her one. First of her name, architect of words, acclaimed author, shifter of culture, netter of Nobel Prize, writing domino, legendary laureate. So I put a formula in here for people to write their own because we spend so much time being humble. We spend so much time being told we shouldn't be arrogant, or the world spends a lot of time telling us that we're not good enough. So we need the opposite. We need the thing that's like, actually, let me tell you how dope I am. So I wrote one for myself because humble, okay? So Luvvie of House Jones, first of her name, assassin of the alphabet, bestseller of books, conqueror of copy, dame of diction. I also enjoy alliteration. Critic of culture, sorceress of side eyes, eater of jollof rice, rocker of fierce shoes, queen of the Jones Kingdom, taker of stages, Nigerian noble and Chi-Town creator. So what I want people to do as they're reading this chapter, like I want you to pause and write yourself one. Take some time to really put on paper why you're amazing. My publishers in the UK last week, they told me that one of I think it was my editor from the UK said that she has a 7-year-old. So when she read this chapter, she was so deeply touched by it that she had her 7-year-old write her own oriki. And then the 7-year-old took it to her class, and now all these 7-year-olds wrote their own oriki. And she said it is so grandiose. She was like, kids are not shy about. She said their orikis are so grand and ridiculous. I said I need to see them because that's what I want. I want them to. I want these 7-year-olds to be like, I am the best toy player. Like I need them to like not be shy about owning that. If we can do it at 7, we could do it at 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is. So they're actually going to send me the 7-year-old orikis. I want this to kind of spread all over the world. Like I want 1 million people to write their orikis and send it to me and be like, this is who I am. So I can be like, the moments when somebody tells you you're not amazing, read your oriki back to yourself and then dare them to tell you something.
We need everybody on this call, everybody on the list. We're going to put your oriki up. Everybody should, and in fact, please start putting them into the chat. I feel like that's great. I tried one. Tell me how I did. I tried it.
Okay.
Okay. And the House of Choquette and the House of Richard Guzet, because I want to stand in my own house, but I love my partner.
Yes.
First of her name, builder of sisterhoods, believer in women, champion of the big life.
Come on.
Fierce warrior for new power. Tender caretaker of King Leonardo and Queen Isabel.
Yes.
Lover of pizza, wine, and good conversation.
Come on, man. I need to laminate it. That is amazing. Yes.
I read the chapter. Look, that was not easy. I was like, like whatever. But when I wrote it, I wanted to elevate my husband and my children and my sisterhood and my book. And I was feeling it in the end. I was hyped up. So
that's what I'm
saying.
Thank you
for that.
That is what I love that. And that should live somewhere, right? Like when it's time, when you're feeling bad, when you're having a bad day, just read that. It's going to give you a little bit of a extra oomph in your step. Like, it's all right. Tomorrow I'm going to do better,
I'm going to film it. Yes. Thank you.
Well, Allison said 100% on kid grandiosity. My 7-year-old definitely told us she won the spelling bee and then realized a couple of weeks later that she came in second and was like, same thing. I'm a great speller. Yes. You know what? We're really bold as little kids, and then the world abuses and insults it out of us. And then we grow up to be people who are apologizing for our presence. The person you see in front of you is 7-year-old Luvvie. I've been like this for a long time. And then for a hot second, I wasn't. And then I went back to that person. So like, what happens if we stay that 7-year-old version who's like, yeah, I came in second. I'm still an amazing speller. Yes. When somebody tells you, no, we can't give you the promotion, you're gonna be like, I don't understand why, because I'm really good at this. Just, 7-year-old, we need 7-year-old energy and 65-year-old Nigerian elder stateswoman energy, where they're like, who you gonna tell something? Who is telling me I don't belong in the room? So the 7-year-old version of us and the 65-year-old version of us need to come together and be us right now. Like real, just unfuckwittable.
Unfuckwittable. I love that. Luvvie, you said something that you want 1 million people to send you your oriki, but I also know that with this book, you have another like million women that you want to reach. Will you talk? Okay, talk about your goals. Then when you are done talking about your goals, I am going to post how we are going to help make your goals happen. I hope Anna is going to start posting some of the links to buy your book and to share your book, but talk about setting that goal, that 1 million woman goal.
Yeah, so one of the chapters in this book is called Dream Audaciously. And it's the idea that we actually have to keep putting numbers that scare us and putting ideas that might feel so big that we're not sure how we're going to even get there. So I decided to actually do that for this book. I'm on a mission to get 1 million people to write their orikis, to fight their fear and do the thing that feels tough, have that tough conversation with a partner or a friend or a sister, ask for that raise or the promotion, start that company, patent that thing that you actually invented. 1 million people moving because of this book and fighting their fear and doing the things scared will shift the world. It will change things. And I'm like, I've already changed my my editor's life. So that's one. So I'm one down. 999,999 to go. And that is my goal. Like, I want this book to sell 1 million copies, inspire 1 million people, and make 1 million people move, act, do something scared, do something different, do something big, whatever that thing is. So that's the goal. It's wildly audacious. And book 1 has sold 110,000 copies. And I'm like, not sure how we're going to get to 1 million, but we're going to try.
We are gonna try. So Anna's posting the links. This link in here to buy the book to share on your social today is the book that the link that the publisher would like us to use, because as everybody here knows, there's all sorts of formulas about where you can buy your book, and this is the link that your publisher would like us to use.
ProfessionalTroublemakerBook.com. Yep, because you can pick like anything, but we just can't call out a specific retailer. But Professional Troublemaker Book is like is a landing page for the book.
I'm going to try and share my screen because I have marching orders for everybody. Here we go. Oh, no, it doesn't want to. All right.
It shows.
It does. Okay. This is your, as we like to say on the list, this is your to-do list. Everybody, we want you to, are you seeing my screen or you're seeing these?
Yep, I see your screen.
You're seeing, okay, good. Your to-do list. Review. After this call, everybody please go review the book on Goodreads and on Amazon. Give her 5 stars. Give her a great review. This is the power of the list. To share, Anna's going to share the suggested social media, and then we'll post some photos. Oh, in fact, I think we might need to pose for a couple of photos because I want to see this sea of red and all of these books for you. And then buy. The link is in there for the pre-sales. If you have a friend or family member who needs this book, and I have a long list of people I'm going to send this book to today. Yep. This is our launch with the list to-do list.
I have a few additional to-dos.
Okay.
Or for people to consider. One, if you have a company that needs to be affirmed to get more professional troublemakers, I can do keynotes, right? Or if you can recommend me for those. I exist to loan people my power. So when I give my keynotes and my talks, it's really to go internally at companies and encourage them to celebrate the troublemakers within the company, not silence them, because they will save your ass over and over again. They'll make sure you don't have the Pepsi campaign, okay? Right? Celebrate the troublemakers and create more troublemakers internally. That's 1. 2, I've been blown away because my book tour, I'm in conversation with 7 people. Esther Perel, Glennon Doyle, Brittany Packnett Cunningham, Kalana Barfield Brown, Kev on Stage, Myleik Teal. I'm leaving somebody out. Yeah. Anyway, it's a 7-city virtual book tour. My friends have bought 2,000 tickets. So we are actually giving away tickets to the book tour to essential workers, to moms, social workers, military spouses. So if you know any groups, any girl groups, college students who need to hear the message and cannot afford it, send them our way. We're giving out 2,000 tickets. And this is outside of the actual people who are coming to the tour. And each ticket stop actually includes a signed copy of my book. So if you know anybody who does not have the budget, who needs to hear this messaging, who needs to be empowered, send them our way, and we will make sure. Oh yeah, Gabrielle Union. How did I leave Gabrielle Union out? So yeah, if you can do group buys, that would be amazing. Every book counts. I'm so passionate about getting this book into people's hands that's why I even bought tickets to my own stop. I bought 50 that I've handed out to people on social media who were just like, I've been furloughed, and I'm like, here, come. So anybody who has any girls groups who they want to send our way, please do. We'll include them as more people are pledging to buy more stuff. So I just want to make sure people get this message.
That's amazing. I'm sure that we have the connections here to help make that happen. That's amazing. Anna, can you unmute everybody? Is that possible to do from your end? And should we take some photos? I feel like I want to see everybody with their book. Do I need to unpin?
You have to unpin us. Yeah, and then do a gallery.
Maybe I have unpinned.
There you go.
Remove spotlight. Okay, hold on. Wait, remove spotlight on me too. Hold up.
Hey, Rachel.
Yeah, if you can take off your camera if you're wearing
Luvvie.
everyone in here.
And you guys got the book in hand beforehand. I'm so glad we were able to make that happen.
Thank you. Thank you for making that happen for us. I love it. It was very exciting.
And thank you for the inscription.
Yes. Y'all got the first signed copies. Oh my God. You got the highly exclusive for real.
And your background is showing like a stack of books.
I love that background though. And we're going to create graphics for on drop date that if everybody can drop in their Instagram timeline or Twitter or whatever. So I'll send it in the group on the day of March 2nd.
Luvvie, I remember the last time you did a book chat with the list for your first book.
Yes. It was in person. Oh, I missed it.
In person, like real live. We had snacks. It was amazing.
We had snacks. Ruthann.
Sponsored by Ruthann. There you go. Beat me to it.
You're on mute, Ruth.
I unmuted and muted again. I have bought 10 copies, but they haven't shown up in real life yet.
You will get it on March 2nd, hopefully.
This is amazing, Luvvie. Please let us know how we can support you in any other ways moving forward. You can reach out to me. We can gather the list. You know, you're on the list. We're here for you whenever you need it. Your team is amazing. We've got Rakia and Leah queued up, and Tiffany. There. Tiffany's been awesome. And I wish you, honestly, here's what I wish you, that I hope, this is the thing that I really wanted when my book launched, was to have fun, to like really enjoy it. And I didn't enjoy it as much because I was like, what are the numbers and where's it going and what's the social media and did the packages arrive? But like, this is going to be so big and so affirming for you. And I just want to I want you to carve out those moments where you can really feel it and you can feel your power and not just give it away, right? Not just have your power to give it away, have your power to boost you up and elevate you in the world.
Amen. I receive that. I receive it.
All right, beautiful listeners.
Are we smiling?
I thank you. Oh, or Anna, Anna's
taking it.
Some photos.
Yeah, I took a picture. I can take another one. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm posting.
We look good, so I'm just saying.
Look good.
It's really good right now. Perfect. I got it.
All right, good.
Boom.
Luvvie, we're here for you. Thank you. And thank you to Rakia and Leah for making this happen, and to Tiffany, and thank you, listeners, for taking your time.
Stacy, hi.
Thank you.
We are free to post this, right? Like we can gram this. There's no embargo.
You can gram it.
Gram away. Amazing.
Gram away.
Got to put it on my Harvard shelf. My virtual Harvard shelf.
Yes.
There we go.
I love it.
Luvvie, this is so awesome. That was amazing.
This is an incredible book.
Fun.
I read the whole thing in one sitting. It's amazing.
One sitting. Holy shit.
I mean, I got a toddler, girl. I got to get in and get out.
It's true.
Let's keep reading.
True. It's true. Yes.
Luvvie, I have said to myself more than a few times, pickle juice. Pickle juice.
We do not accept it.
We do not
accept pickle juice.
Even though I do actually like pickles, but
same.
Don't need the juice.
Don't need the juice. Don't need it for payment either. No, I will eat the pickle in my own time. Okay, so yes, no pickle juice.
Congratulations.
Bye, everybody.
All right.